WPSC-FM 88.7, Wayne, New Jersey.
Part of the William Paterson Broadcast Network. Brave New...
Well, good morning, good morning. Good morning to you, and this is your host, Marc Medley, coming to you live from WP 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio, heard around the world on GoBrave.org. And believe it or not, it is time for another edition of the Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley. And if you've been with us any amount of time, you know we kick the show off with reading from two books. Actually, I start off with the weather, then I read from two passages. I get my guest introduced, and our interview goes live and underway. So right now, get on all your social media sites and tell folks to tune in to GoBrave.org anywhere around the world. That's GoBrave.org. GoBrave.org. That's our web streaming site, and it's short for Brave New Radio. So I tell you, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give you the weather, what's going on here in the Wayne, New Jersey area. It is 35.9 degrees. I stepped out this morning without a jacket on, and it was cold. So 35.8 degrees. It just dropped that point while I was talking to you. Expect us today go up to a high of 56, a mix of clouds and sun early, followed by cloudy skies this afternoon. As I said, high of 56. Tonight, considerable cloudiness, occasional rain showers after midnight. That's a 60% chance of rain. And then on tomorrow, Sunday, we have showers in the morning, then cloudy in the afternoon, high of 65, low of 37, a few clouds tomorrow night. And then on Monday, mainly sunny, high of 58, low of 35. On Tuesday, partly cloudy, high near 60, a low of 42, partly cloudy skies on Tuesday night, 40% chance of rain. And then rounding out our forecast on Wednesday, overcast with rain showers at times, 64 as a high, 57 as a low. Overcast with rain showers, rain likely Wednesday night. Well, that's the weather from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. From the two books, you know I read from What Can Happen When We Pray and Until Today. They are daily devotionals, so you can keep those books forever because there are no years associated with them, only the date. So for today, October the 24th, it says, "Connected. But Hannah answered, 'No, my lord, I am a woman deeply troubled. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord.'" Today's prayer: God, when I cry out to you from the depths of my being, please hear me. When words cannot express my anguish, disappointment, or even my dreams, hear the moans of my soul and answer me. Please surround me with people who understand me and can support me in my pursuit of you. Amen. Today's reflection: it is no secret that desperate situations demand that we try some different tactics or techniques. When we cannot seem to get our needs met or our desires fulfilled, we can be propelled in a prayer whose intensity resembles the inebriation of others. So focused are we that our circumstances numb us to any other agenda. I know that's right. In fact, onlookers can confuse our devotion with fanaticism or error. But we must be careful to remember that God does honor our consistent supplication. God honors the prayers that ring from our soul. That's from the book What Can Happen When We Pray for October the 24th. From Ian Levant's book Until Today for October the 24th, she says, "I will realize my own worth when I accept there is something good within me waiting to be released and realized. If you look too good on the outside, people will not like you. They will talk about you, making nasty accusations about who you think you are or what you are doing to get what you have. If you rise too high, people will be upset with you for moving beyond what they think about you. If you are not clear about who you are, you will fall prey to these people. In response, you will do your best to stay where they want you, in a place where they are comfortable. This may not be the place you need or want to be. However, when you depend on others to validate and acknowledge your experience, you can only be what they think you are worth being. You will only allow yourself to be what someone else thinks about you. It is not healthy nor is it worthwhile endeavor to hold yourself back to make other people comfortable. There is something great and powerful within you that is waiting to be expressed. Other people may not be able to see it. For that matter, you may not be able to see it. This does not mean that it is not there. Quite often, you can be talked out of your greatness by people who get uncomfortable when you start to rise. Your rising demonstrates what they have chosen to believe is not true. If you rise, you will prove that they are wrong. Who wants to be wrong in public? When folks like this start talking to you, reach for the stars, get a grip on your greatness, step into your bigness, and never look back. Until today, you may have allowed what other people think you cannot do to become what you do not try to do. Just for today, move beyond the expectations of others. Dare to be bigger, better, bolder than anyone ever imagined. Surprise yourself. Do one thing that someone has encouraged you not to do. Just make sure it is something that is good for you. Today I'm devoted to living bigger and better than anyone ever imagined I would. That's from the book Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. It is that time that I introduce my guest. He is on the line. He called in right on time, the scheduled time that I asked him to call. So I'm going to get him introduced right now, and he is local. Last week, my guest was from Los Angeles. She was actually calling from Oakland, California, rather. And this week, we're all the way back on the East Coast and only a couple of miles away from the studio. And that is none other than Randy Jashon, quote-unquote, Jackson. He was born in 1963 in Paterson, New Jersey. While growing up in Paterson, he quickly turned to the street life. Randy's first novel, The Paterson Pimp, was written in 2008, has turned into an inner-city favorite. After writing 3 urban novels, he decided to write a children's book called Smart Like Me, which has won 2 writers' contests at Passaic County Community College, 2012 and 2013. His prized possession, though, is his latest book, The Andre Williams Story, about a man growing up with Muscular Dystrophy, MD, Muscular Dystrophy, in the inner city and overcoming many obstacles. Welcome to the Reading Circle microphone, Randy Jashon Jackson. Randy, good morning.
How you doing? How you doing? That was a great introduction. I never had one like that before.
Hey, man, I hear you. You know what? I always share with the listening audience. I love the introductions and the bios because I always hope they encourage somebody else to say, wow, if Randy can do it, I can do it. So I hope whenever they listen to the bios of the people who are the guests who are on the show, that folks will be encouraged and inspired and say, well, you know what? If it can happen for Randy, it can happen for me. So I'm glad to have you here. I know we hadn't talked that day since we saw each other in the store.
Right.
And so I emailed you last night because I said, oh, my goodness, I hadn't emailed Randy. I said, I hope he gets the email to remember. And sure enough, when I saw the light up this morning, I said, he got it and he's here.
Right on time, right? Because I was just saying, I was telling my wife last night, I was like, I didn't get an email yet. Like, let me check. And there it was. I was happy and pleased.
I'm glad, and I'm glad to have you here because we're going to talk about, because see, this is going to be an interesting interview, and I'll tell you why. Because we were talking before we got on the air, saying like your first few books are, the topic matter is a little bit rough, but you worked your way up to a children's book because you're trying to hit different audiences. So I tell you what, listening audience, I'm getting ready to share some information with you, but as I'm doing that, I want you to get on all, and I mean all of your social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, WhatsApp, or whatever you have. Text somebody, tweet somebody, tell somebody that we are on the air. This is a story they don't want to hear. And I'll tell you why you're not going to want to miss this, because Jashon, it's out there that, first off, nothing good comes from Paterson. That's the first thing. Secondly, certainly nothing good comes from African-American males coming out of the city of Paterson. And so the fact that we're on this microphone this morning talking about an African-American male from Paterson, New Jersey that has written books, because that's the other thing. They don't think anybody in Paterson read either. They don't think anybody can read or can write. And see, that's totally untrue, totally myth, regardless of what you see in the news, regardless of what you read in the paper, and you're always seeing on the various news stations, because that's only certain segments of the city, certain people people doing that, but the majority of the people in there are very intelligent. So that's why this interview this morning is going to be a lot of fun for me and for the listening audience, as you as well, because we're going to dispel some myths this morning. That all African-American males are not in jail, all African-American males are not hoodlums, all African-American males are not stupid, and everybody that comes out of the city of Paterson is not stupid. So we're going to have some fun with that. I'm going to share this information with the listening audience. Tell somebody to go to gobrave.org and turn on their speakers, and if they're in the Paterson, New Jersey area, they can turn on their radios at 88.7 FM.
Want to expand your horizons? Want to broaden your mind? Well, listen to the only show of its kind. Listen to the Reading Circle.
We bring you what's going on in the world of reading, in the world of books. Sometimes the book may be from 20, 30 years ago, because the thing about books, they are timeless, particularly if there's a good message. And then there are times when we do books that are hot off the press, that were just released.
Listen to the Reading Circle every Saturday morning from 6 a.m.
The Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley.
Only on WP 88.7 FM.
Yes, indeed. Only on 88.7 FM and gobrave.org, the Reading Circle. We come to you live each Saturday morning, 6 o'clock, and we are in that hour right now. So, okay, Jashon, you heard me kind of before we shared that information with folks, kind of set us up here. And let's get into, first off, you're from Paterson. Talk a little bit about your schooling. Where'd you go to school?
I first went to school on public school number 20.
Oh, okay, you were school 20.
Side.
Oh, yeah. All right, so you're 20. And high school was east side of Kennedy or Tech?
I went to East Side High School for 3 years, and then my parents had sent me down south to complete school in South Carolina.
All right.
Up here, I was kind of, going astray.
Well, see, that's where we're going to work our way to, because it says in your bio you quickly hit the streets. Because, see, the fact that hitting the streets and author don't necessarily go together. And that's what I like about it, because we're going to work our way up to how did you move from running in the streets to now becoming an author, not to mention writing a children's book titled Smart Like Me. So, all right, for the most part, you're East Side. All right. See, I'm East Side High School as well. That's why, so we have that in common in terms of going to East Side. So, all right, when you were in, and I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm not sure. It might be the other way. When you were in school, was writing or language your favorite subject, or did you write poetry or write journals or write little stories or something in school, or where did the writing come from?
Actually, I wrote my first autobiography when I was 9 years old, and my mother still has it. And it's like my fourth grade teacher, she wanted us to write an autobiography, and she showed us how to put it all together. We got like fabric and put it over cardboard, and we wrote the pages, and we stitched it together. But the writing part really came in from my mother. She was the kind of parent where every night I had to read something, and she didn't care what it was, preferably a Bible, but she didn't care what it was. But every night I had to read like an hour worth of reading, and that was probably to start far back as I could remember, like when I could read. So then, of course, the older I got, the more I didn't want to do it. So it went from you're going to read an hour a night to, 45 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes. 15 minutes. She didn't care, but you was reading something in her house every night. And I still respect her for that, because that was setting my path for, where I'm at today.
Well, I'm going to say praise God for her. I'm going to say God bless your mom, because if I had, as the principal of a school, if I had every parent in my building that did what your mom did, every last one of our scores would be better. Now, they might not all be 100%, but they'd be darn close if every parent in my building and buildings around the city would do just what your mom did. You know what? You're going to read every night. And like I said, you started as a child in an hour and kind of worked your way as you got older to fit. And I understand that, because as teenagers, things change. They really do.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the fact that your mother laid that foundation, God bless her. And I wish I had more parents that would do the same thing, because that is so needed. you heard me say earlier, there are many of our kids, and adults for that matter, who cannot read. Literally, they cannot do it, Randy. They can't. They don't know how. They never learned. They never took the time. So the fact that your mother forced you, she was being a parent.
Yes, but at that time, I couldn't really understand it. It was like I was, rebelling against that. Seemed like that reading was taking so much of my day up. But but it wasn't. And like I said, I'm happy for it now, and I understand what you're saying. Like if more parents today was, I guess that's called old school.
Yes. Yes, but the truth of, one of the problems with parents today is parents want to be their kids' friends. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying you can't be friendly, but the role of the parent is to be the parent. That's why we're the adults and they're the kids. So your mom took a stand and said, you are going to read. And I don't think she cared whether you cried or pouted or ran around the house or did whatever. You still had to read. And I wasn't there, but I can pretty much guess. You still sat down and read that book, whether it was the Bible or one of the little stories or whatever.
Fake with a tight face and lips pulled out and everything.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. She didn't care about none of that. She wasn't worrying about being your friend. She was worrying about, this is what I know is best for my son, whether he likes it or not. And over the long run, it turned out to be just that. Because you just said, had it not been for her doing that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
No, I wouldn't be, because I had a lot of friends, that they couldn't read as well as I did. And like you said, maybe if their parents would have been like that, it would have been different, because, as years go on, I would keep getting promoted, but my best friends would keep getting left back.
Absolutely. That doesn't surprise me at all, because reading, and this is why your children's book is critical. And the fact that you've written about Andre is critical too, because that's an inspirational story. But the children's book is critical because, like your mom did with you, you have to get kids interested in reading at an early age. Right. You got to do it when they're like first, second, third, fourth grade, and you got to kind of get them into the habit, because if you don't, when the teenage years come, when they really not going to want to do it because there's so many other distractions, it's going to be tough. So that's why you got to start that and lay that groundwork when they're young. And a book like yours, Smart Like Me, will do that for the younger kids, or, like the middle school kids or what have you. But let's talk about, because you said you were rebelling, and this whole notion of hitting the streets. What kind of drew you out into the streets?
Well, a lot of times in the city, and this is another thing, a lot of parents, sometimes they worry about all the temptation and the lures of the streets, bad association, peer pressure, friends, and then, but, sometimes you got to worry about what's going on also in your own house.
Absolutely.
So what actually happened was I had an older brother that, of course, most younger brothers, I looked up to him, and he was street poisoned. So since I looked up to him, I kind of imitated a lot of things that he did. So that's kind of how I started, in the wrong direction of the streets, trying to, imitate my brother.
That makes sense too. That makes all kinds of sense. So, all right. So now you got in the streets, you started rebelling, you got out there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you got in any kind of trouble or not, but something turned you around. What turned you around?
Well, it didn't happen quickly. I did get in trouble a couple of times, and as the years went on, I kind of always knew which way I had to go, but it just seemed like I always went the wrong way.
I hear you.
You know how they say they could lead a horse to water, but
that's
you
right.
can't make them drink.
Right.
Yeah, so, but it just seemed like the bottom line is that I had children. I think actually that's where I first met you, at a father-daughter. I don't remember the exact program you gave, but it was a father-daughter something I went there with my daughter. But I had children, and they was growing up, and the things I was seeing in the street, it just was changing so much. Like the kids that were getting in trouble were getting so younger and younger and younger, and I was saying, it's time for a change. And, sometimes when it's time for a change, you got to start with yourself within.
Right.
So, like I said, I was just like my brother influenced me. I probably was influencing people to go the wrong way, looking up to me. And like you said earlier, I was writing a lot of hood novels. And it really snapped at me is when I said, a lot of people, they follow me around and I'm popular for my hood novels. And something just clicked in my mind, and I said, won't you switch up, and be universal? Won't you write something for another, base audience? And that's where I came up with the book, the children's book, Smart Like Me.
Well, this is what fascinates me, because I'm listening to you just now say that even while you were out there kind of like in the street or running, you were still writing.
Yeah.
Because that's what you said, you were writing your hood novels. You were writing the hood novels while you was out there in the street. Most folks that are running the streets or gang banging or either hanging out in the corner or whatever they're doing, they're not sitting around writing books. That's what's unique about you. That's what's a little different with you in terms of, okay, I was out there and I may not have been doing the right thing, but I was still, and I'm convinced this goes back to your mother making you read.
I was getting ready to say, it's a funny story that I got friends whenever we get together over the years. Whenever we get together, this is a true story. We would be out in the street and, looking for trouble and riding around in cars. And they tease me to the day because I would always have a book in my pocket. So I would actually be reading on the way, to break the law. And that's a true story. And they still tease me today. They like, oh, now we understand all that reading why it paid off. It paid off. I always kept a book in my back pocket, or in my glove compartment or under my seat. Or, I guess it was like from when I was growing up with my mother. I don't know. I just always had a love for reading and writing to this day.
Well, I tell you what, I'm telling you, that's the foundation for everything. You can go anywhere and do anything you want to do if you can read well. And that's the message that I'm constantly getting across in the school that I'm in, trying to get teachers and the kids and everybody else, and the parents. If you get your kids reading, and you're a testament to that, you're a testimony to that. It's a testimony you're giving this morning in terms of that. Even whenever I was out there on the block, I had a book with me. And see, again, that's what I always tell people. Years ago, because I read a whole bunch of books on Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and that whole 60s era. I read a lot of books.
Yeah,
there.
Me too.
And I came across one of Martin Luther King's book where he said he never went anywhere without a bag of books. Anywhere, no matter wherever he was, he always had a bag of books with him. Now, in 2015, we can do that with the Kindle. It's like I have over 200 some books on my iPad. So anywhere I go, the iPad goes, I have 200 plus books on there. But I never, and I was like you, good or bad, I always had a book with me. And it makes such a difference, and people don't realize that. But that's funny that you all are out there joyriding, and you got your book. And I know your boys had to be like, man, what's going on with him? What's up with Bookworm over there? What's it?
Yeah, that's and they, like I said, they still tease me to this day about that. And I basically, like you were just saying, because I think we from the same era. I would read anything. In 8th grade, I did my term paper on John F. Kennedy. I mean, I would read, I love to read autobiography.
So do I.
That's my love.
Me too. I'm Jashon. I'm the same way.
I don't care.
I'm the same way because for me, I'm always fascinated, for the behind the scenes. In other words, I know what I see face value and up front. But there's always more going on that we don't see that's usually in the autobiography.
Right.
So,
a lot more.
Oh, yeah, a lot more is right. So I am going to share this information with you in the listening audience. I'm going to do it manually because for the last couple of weeks, the automated system is not allowing me to do it. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to read it. What's best about living here? The lively neighborhoods, the mix of people, the fact that you don't really need a car. All that's great about this place begins with good planning. Find out why at planning.org. This is a message brought to you from WPSC 88.7 FM, the American Planning Association. So go to, if you're planning to move or you're planning to go to a new neighborhood or what have you, you can find out information about it from this website, planning.org. All right, my guest this morning, and I'm having a wonderful time, as you can tell, chatting with him, because the information that he is sharing with you, if you're listening, you're wise. You can get some wisdom listening to Randy. You can get some wisdom listening to Jashon, because these are real life experiences. This is somebody. It's one thing for somebody who claims they never, and I put the quote unquote on claims they've never done anything. And there's another thing for somebody that's been out there and be able to show you the way to say, I wouldn't go that way because I went that way and this is what happened to me. Now, when you put on top of that, okay, yeah, I went that way. I turned a little bit wrong, but I turned myself around. But even with that, when I was out there doing wrong, I was still doing something positive. That's what I love about this story. Randy was still doing something positive, even though he might have headed down the wrong track for a couple of minutes. The reason, because you said your mom used to have you read the Bible, so you probably have heard the verse, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. What that means is if you set the foundation when they're little, they might stray away, they might go down a detour, might go on a wrong road here or there, but eventually they're going to come back to that training. And this is what has happened with Jashon. He came back to the training his mother gave him. And that's why he has, I'm counting here on Amazon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm counting 6 right here on Amazon. The Paterson Pimp, My Soul is Still Pimping, How She Became a Hoe. What's that? Cuss or cousin? What's that? Which one is it? Something or cousin? Color cousin? Cuss or color? I'm just having trouble seeing the verbiage on the print. Then the Andre Williams story and Smart Like Me. So that right there is
out of control.
That's what it is. Out of control. Okay, I couldn't see it because it's the little font. Okay, so Out of Control. All right, so we got 6 books right here from someone who strayed away, came on back in, was doing his thing even while he strayed away. And yes, we are from the same area. We're a year apart. You're 63, I'm 62.
What, the age?
You know, in terms of the year that we were born.
Okay.
You were born. No, I'm not 62 and you're not 63. You were born in 63. I was born in 62. Right. I ain't get there yet. Trying to get there. So one more let me share one more thing, and then we're going to come right on back with our interview.
Okay.
Hey, wake up. You can't dream your way into college. There are actual steps you need to take, steps that go beyond just getting good grades. So if you're serious about college, visit knowhowtogo.org today. Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for the Education, the Ad Council, and your friends right here at WP 88.7 FM. Normally the system does that, but we've been doing maintenance up here for the longest. They're upgrading, and I'm okay with that. But just that with the upgrades, always something is not working. So I'm waiting until it all gets through, and we're going to have like a wonderful system when it's all through. But man, it's like construction on the highway. It's frustrating while you're going through it. So that's why I'm reading these manually, but that's okay. We'll get through it. My guest this morning is Randy Jashon Jackson, and he is a fellow Patersonian. And we're talking about his books. We're actually working our way up. I tell you what, so we don't necessarily have to get into the nits and gnats because the titles kind of speak for themselves. But where did you kind of come up with your concepts from for the Paterson Pimp, My Soul is Still Pimping, How to Become the Hoe, and Out of Control? Where did those concepts kind of come from? Whether your experiences on the street or just what you were seeing or what?
Well, they're from actual experiences. And like you said, the titles speak for themselves. I guess, like you said earlier in the interview, you're not really talking to somebody who just writing, because everybody knows knowledge is something gained from the actual experiences. At the time when I actually wrote my first book, I still was living that life when I wrote the first one, and somewhat when I wrote the second one. So the titles, they kind of fit in with how I felt at that time. And like you see, the first one was the Paterson Pimp,
right?
And then the second one is My Soul is Still Pimping. So I was kind of fighting with myself between the streets and what I really wanted to do,
right?
And the title, the third title, which How She Became a Hoe, I actually changed that to God Already Punished Her Once.
Oh, all right.
So, you know, like you said, they're all self.
Yeah, they are. But you know what? If you look at them the way I'm looking at them here on the computer, as the way they line them up in Amazon, and seem like the sequence that you wrote them in, they tell a story. As a matter of fact, it shows your transformation and your progression. Because we've gone from, at least what I'm looking at here, we went from the Paterson Pimp to Smart Like Me. We went from a book that, you know, it had one genre or one storyline to something to encourage kids. And in between that, you have the story of someone who had muscular dystrophy bound to a wheelchair. Matter of fact, that's the two we're actually going to focus on, the Andre Williams story and Smart Like Me. That's the two we're really going to focus on. But just know there was a progression listening audience to Jashon getting to those two books. And I find it fascinating. I see you in a Met hat, so I know you are happy, brother.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's my team, the Mets.
Then, like I said, they in the series, so I know you were happy, brother.
Yeah, I've been a Met fan since '73. You know, the Tom Seaver and.
Oh, I remember those. Now those, because see, I'm a Yankee fan, but I remember those '70s and '80s Mets. Tom Seaver, Ed Kranepool, Cleon Jones, Jerry Grody, John Matlack. I could probably.
know the whole team.
I can name the '70s Mets teams. Yeah, I can name them. Gary Carter when he came on. But they in the series now.
Wayne Garrett.
Wayne Garrett, that's right, third base.
Yeah.
Rusty Staub, shortstop. Mike, the host that comes on after me, Barry, he is a major Mets fan, so I know when he gets here, because he takes over the mic at 9 o'clock, but I know when he gets here, we're going to have a ball, because the Mets made the World Series. And I said,
Kansas City won last night.
So that's who it's going to be. Oh, that's going to be a good series then. The Mets against the Royals. So I digress because I looked here at your picture on the Amazon site and you have on a Mets hat. So that's why it came up. But all right, let's talk a little bit about the Andre Williams story. What kind of inspired you to write about Andre?
Okay, well, actually, like I didn't say before, I go to Passaic County Community College. I went back to school very late. Actually, I've been going for the last 4 years.
There's no such thing as too late.
Okay.
No, seriously, it's not.
Tells.
No, seriously, it's not.
I say that.
No, because first off, whether we're in school or not school, we need to be about our education every day. I tell folks all the time, we ought to, as humans, learn something new every day. I don't care how little it is. It doesn't have to be monumental. But every day we should come across something that we didn't know the day before. And in terms of formal education, it's never too late to go back. I mean, 60, 70, 80, 90. Hey, I'm going back into. I used to teach down at Passaic County Community, and I had a lady. I taught public speaking down there for like 4 years, and I had a lady in my class, and I knew her. She's passed and gone away now, but Juanita was like 70 or close to 80 when she took my public speaking class. And I said, Juanita, you don't need this class. I just want to keep my brain active. I just want to keep in practice. So she took the class. And like I said, she was close to 80 at the time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's great.
So there is no such thing as never too late. Go for it. Keep on. Matter of fact, don't get out of school. Stay in there. So was Andre a student down at Passaic County Community?
No. So what happened? I was the editor-in-chief of the newspaper down there for about a year and a half.
Okay.
He had seen one of the school papers. I guess he was signing up for school, or he was trying to get into school, and it just happened that the day he came, I was doing a book signing right on the corner. I was selling my books out there, and he just came up to me in a wheelchair, and he told me, like, we started talking, and he told me that he always wanted to write a book. He always wanted a book written about his life. So I didn't, I don't really push people off, so I started a conversation with him, and he told me he just wanted to give the world a different look or outlook, perspective on people living with disabilities and people that's disabled, because a lot of times, you see somebody handicapped and you just look and you shrug it off. You never take the time out to think how blessed you are that, you've got your 5 physical senses.
I know that's right.
You're healthy and strong. And here was a man that was he was only given 12 years to live by the doctors because he was born with muscular dystrophy. he was walking till he was 12. He collapsed at his great-grandfather's funeral. He couldn't talk for 4 years. He was in a coma for a month. He grew up in Alabama Projects in Paterson. He's 39 years old, and he's living in in Hackensack right now. And he has children, and his mother was hooked on drugs. So it's just a real inspirational, compelling story, and it gives people. If you read that book and you dig into the Andre Williams story, you'll look at life different. You will never complain about headaches and stuff like that, or bills. If because the book is going to take you into a life, in a day and time in the life of a handicapped person.
So, originally he was only given how long to live?
12 years.
He was only given 12 years to live, and now he's 39?
39 years old.
So he's gotten beyond those 12 years. But that is, I tell you, you are so on point whenever you say, because you know what we do, Randy? We take what we have for granted. And you don't realize just how valuable it is until you lose it. And this is the thing about the parts of the body. There's parts of the body that we don't give second thought to until it's hurt. Like, say, for example, your pinky toe or your pinky or a finger or a paper cut or whatever. Like last night, I have like a small burn on my hand because some ashes fell on it. I was fooling around with some incense or something and forgot the darn thing. The tip was hot. And somehow my hand touched up against it. And now the thing has like a tiny blister on there. It doesn't hurt, but I know it's there.
Right.
So it's kind of like the same way the things that we give no thought to because it functions on its own. When you lose that, and whenever you're dealing with something like a muscular dystrophy, because I know a few kids that have MD, muscular dystrophy, or if you're dealing with that or any type of affliction, if you will, it's something. And for those folks to be able to tell their story, you're right. It will make those of us who are healthy, even if it's a cold or even if we are struggling with something, we would have a different perspective. I agree with you.
You definitely do. It really changed my life around. We still talk every day to this day. We've been on like the Jeff Fox show. We traveled and did book signings, and he's really something, that if you read the book, you'll really understand. You'll look different at handicapped people. It's even a part, in the book where he tells about he wanted to try to be a normal person and go on a job interview at the mall, and the people were actually laughing at him. The manager and everything, but he could see them, but they didn't know he could see them, and they just kind of came out there and brushed them off. So, we never think about stuff like that, what handicapped or disabled people go through. So,
no,
it's really a great book.
I mean, in terms of, this is what I usually do, and since two of them that we're focusing on before the next couple of weeks, by the time I get my paycheck again and my replenish my account, if you will, I will have downloaded the Andre Williams story and Smart Like Me. Because, like I said, I usually download now from Amazon onto my Kindle, and that's why I'm able wherever I go. And so before the next couple weeks is out, I will have those two books downloaded to my Kindle. And I'm sure it does. Oh, you're welcome. I'm sure it has to be life-changing, and it has to force one, if they're human, it has to force one to really take a look to say, first off, thank God. But secondly, then from Andre's perspective, he says, look, I don't want you to pity me. I want to be able to do things just like anybody else, but you got to give me the chance.
Yep.
So as you were writing the book, or you all would just get together, or would he tell you things over the phone?
Yeah, we would get together. Like I would go over to his apartment in Hackensack, or we would meet at a library, or we would meet somewhere. And a lot of people ask me how I write books, and I guess this is why I know this is one of my gifts that I got from God.
Right.
Is that when I write, I just sit down with a pen and paper, and I just told him, just talk.
Right.
From far back as you can remember, just start talking, and I just take down notes. and then I go back, home later, and then I just put it all together.
So
sometimes when I'm writing, it's like I can write for like 30 minutes or an hour, and then when I'm done, it's like God was guiding the pen. It's strange. You ever been driving and then like you lose time and like 15 minutes later you're still driving and you don't remember.
Right.
That's how it is. Like writing when you love writing and you just got a gift. It's like somebody just guiding the pen. But actually, that's how we would do it. We would just get together, and I would just let them talk, and I would just jot and take down notes.
Now I'm looking here because I just clicked on the actual description of that book, and you talked about it a couple of seconds ago. It says, imagine being diagnosed with MD at 5 years old and given 12 years to live, also falling into a coma and losing the ability to speak for 4 years. So he couldn't talk for 4 years.
4 years he couldn't talk.
Only to wake up with a tracheotomy and confined to a wheelchair for the rest of your life. These are adversities that Andre Williams has faced during his 37 years of life. This is a very compelling and inspirational story that will make you appreciate and see life in a different way. If you've ever dreamed, wished, or prayed in any shape, form, or fashion, then you must read the Andre Williams story about a man who never gave up. Whenever you guys, one thing to write, it's another thing to publish. How did you go about the publishing piece of it?
I'm like I consider myself like somebody who I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. So when I first had the idea to write my first book, I didn't really know anything about writing a book. But
Okay.
I'm not really like a person that I learn things on my own. So
Right.
I was going back to the libraries, reading on how to self-publish.
Right.
I was going to seminars on how to self-publish. I was doing anything I could do to find out, how to self-publish my own book. And it just seemed like everything was falling into place. I met a lady who could do my web design. I met another lady, Carla Baker, who did my editing. I reached out to another person. They showed me different publishing companies that I reached out to, and it just seemed like everything fell in place. And before I knew it, I had self-published my first book.
And so you answered, that's generally one of my questions because, as I said when I was reading your bio, there are folks in the listening audience that may be interested or may feel like, you know what, I can write a book too, but have no clue. And then see, years ago...
There's a lot of people like that. A lot.
Right. And years ago, back when we were kids, 60s, 70s, or what have you, there was no such thing as self-publishing. You had to go through a publishing house. You had to go to one of the big ones, and then you get like 1,000 rejection letters before somebody finally said yes. But now, since the 90s and 2000, whatever, with the internet and all the various companies, you can do it yourself. Matter of fact, the music that you're listening to in the background is a self-published CD of mine. I was able to,
really?
Yes, I self-publish. I have 2 jazz CDs out that are self-published, and I use them as backdrops for the show. So the music that, I guess you can hear it on your end, I don't know. But the music that
I hear it.
You can. Okay, so that's me playing. Going back to what you were talking about, how time flies when you're doing something you love. That's exactly it. Hours go by. But when you're doing your passion, time goes very quickly. But for those of you now listening audience who has in you a book, but you don't know what to do, Randy just gave you the formula. In terms of self-publishing, you got to do your research.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much research as you can do on how to do this, and then there's various companies out there. I know there's Lulu, there's a few more. Because the only drawback to self-publishing, you got to be very careful with the editing, because you don't want to have a lot of grammatical or spelling errors. That's the only thing that you really got to watch out for in self-publishing. Go ahead.
It's funny that you said that. My first book is I call it a grammar disaster. My first
At
book
least
is
you're
a
honest
grammar
about it.
Oh yeah, I tell people get ready because I wrote that book just like I taught. I mean, like, and like we talked about earlier, when I wrote my first book, I still was in the street life. So even though I went and found out how to do everything myself, I was still trying to cut corners and believe in that. I was the best knower. So I really believe that I could edit my own books. How do they say anybody that have a lawyer, they sell for a lawyer? I forgot how they say that, but
right.
don't edit your own.
Don't
book.
edit your own book. That's right.
Well, you know why? Because what you meant to say.
That's
So
right.
even if you're reading it, you're gonna think it's correct.
That's
after a
right.
while.
That Randy, that happens with me on emails. Like their words might be left out because in your mind as you're typing it, you
Right.
know in your mind what you're saying, and you think you've typed it on paper until you go back and try to proofread, and you'll see like maybe a TO or A and D or something is out there. Sometimes I've already hit the send button, and I'm like, oh. Or either when I'm right.
You know what's hilarious? That not hilarious, but it's my first book that I wrote, which was the Paterson Pimp. It was a grammar disaster, but it became a prison saver because I guess it was so easy to read.
Right.
You know, and
That's a good point.
And a lot of people, I don't even really talk about that book much anymore. But a lot of people be like, no, it's okay because it's real.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you look from my first book
Right.
to my last book, you would think a different person wrote it.
So you see the growth.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But,
Yeah,
I
I
was
hear
going
you.
to college for, and it was teaching me different
Right.
points and, just the transformation of, into getting better.
And that's exactly. I love both of my CDs, but I could tell the growth from my first CD to my second CD. I could tell by style. I could tell by this is the one that's playing in the background is my second one. But I can tell that if I put my first one on and my second one on, I can tell the difference. There should be growth as you do it more and more. That's my point.
Right.
So when we talk about Smart Like Me, because now you shifted from the biography on Andre to a children's book. What was that like?
The children's book was something I wrote actually when I was in class and I was taking a creative writing class. And we had to write a short story. And the actual truth is I came to class late one day and my professor, I forgot his name, he was a great professor. He was like, well, you late to class, well I hope you got your short stories, but I didn't have it. So from walking in the door to my seat, I thought that fast. I said, I have it. I wrote it, but I don't have it with me. I said, It's about a little boy who was smart and he was getting bullied and this and that and this and that. And then everybody in the class was like, that sounds like a good short story. The teacher said, well, it sounds good. Just bring it tomorrow. So I had to go home and I had to actually write, a short story. And I went home and I wrote the story. It's about a young African-American male who was had a high IQ.
Right.
And received scholarships like to go to the top schools, but since he was from I would say a poverty area.
Right.
He was put into schools with people who were wealthier than him, and he got bullied every day, and to the point of that he didn't even want to go to school anymore until it's like a big climax. I won't tell everybody.
No, don't tell the ending. But
it's something that happened to change his life away, that make him propel and exceed, and to the top of his class. Is like one event that changes his whole life, and and that's how the book kind of ended. It's really a good. It's terrible. Like it's really a good. That's why I want to thank you for having me on the show first of all, because it's an outlet. And I wrote the book, The Smart Like Me, I think in 2011, and I tried to do a lot to promote it, but like you said, with self-publishing, it's kind of hard to get your stuff out into the world unless you do it right. And then on the flip side of it, it's bad to say, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. I could write a Paterson Pimp book to sell thousands and thousands of copies, and I could write a children's book called Smart Like Me, and, the numbers don't reach the same.
And you know what? Don't be ashamed to say it because it's true. It is, and unfortunately, because the priorities are in the wrong place, and generally, we tend to gravitate toward the negative. I mean, like for me, not for nothing. For those of you who are Scandal fans, hey, it is what it is. But for me, I've never watched an episode of the show because I do not like the storyline. I don't like the fact that you have this African-American female that, for the most part, is the president's hoe. And that much I do know. I've never watched it, but that much I do know. And so, but folks go crazy over that, but won't watch something of some substance. All right. Yeah. Now, for those of you listening on us who may not know what hoe is, H-O or either H-O-E, it is the short version for whore, W-H-O-R-E. I want to be clear because we do know our grammar. Even though his first book was a grammatical disaster, we do know our grammar. And the word is whore, W-H-O-R-E, and we say hoe. So, I mean, for the most part, that's what Scandal is all about. What's her face? Kerry Washington plays the president's hoe. All right. So, wow. I've never watched it, but we will watch that. And we won't watch something educational. We won't watch a documentary. So I'm not surprised, and don't be ashamed to say that because I see it every day. We'll buy a $600 iPhone 6S and won't buy a 25-cent pencil. I see it every day. Our priorities are way off. See, you're going to get me to preaching here.
Yeah, I know. and when I didn't hit, that's why I gotta keep thanking you over and over, and I take my hat off and I respect you because, really, to be honest with you, you probably didn't even know. I thought you had went through my collection of books on Amazon and changed your mind.
No, not at all. No. Once I schedule a guest, usually, oddly enough, they don't hear from me until the night before. Every now and again, I'll catch them earlier in the week. Sometimes because it's like my schedule is so crazy. The weeks will go by so quickly, and before you know it, Friday and Saturday's here. So usually my guests will hear from me the day before. Every now and again, they might get a Wednesday, Thursday. You know what? We're up Saturday morning. But most of the time, it's the day before. Our interview is on tomorrow. So, no, I hadn't forgotten because I have a schedule. I have an Excel spreadsheet that's scheduled the show all the way out, and everybody has their dates.
I said, he done heard about my other books.
No, man.
And now he don't want to. You know, because people, like, not you, but I'm just saying, like, so that way a lot of times I never get to the good, like Smart Like Me or Andre Williams story because I can't get past, you know.
No, because on this show I've covered everything from erotica to Jesus. I mean, I've had erotic writers, that has got some raw stuff out there. I mean, there's like XXX stuff. I've had some of them on here, and then I've had Christian authors on. I mean, we span the gamut. So no, I don't shy away from any of it. I don't have a problem with talking about any of it on the air because at the end of the day, I want folks doing what your mother did to you. I want folks reading more. I do. I mean,
I got to tell my mother.
Yeah, you tell her. You make sure. And
Mark loves you.
Yes. Matter of fact, the show is recorded, and whenever I'm done, I go home. Sometime before the weekend is out, it's going to be on a YouTube link, and you'll be able to hear it. And I'm going to email it to you, and your mom can hear it if she's not up. You can email it to her or either send it to her. But, yeah, by all means, do that. I'm telling you, that's right. Mark loves you, and I got 504 kids in my school. If I had 500 parents that did what she did, my school would be number one in the city of Paterson. Because that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna let her hear it for herself, you know. And it's when I first wrote, getting back to Smart Like Me. So when I first wrote Smart Like Me, and I gave it to the teacher, he was like, oh wow, this is a good story.
Right.
So I went and told my mother, like I was telling my mother, like they want to put my short story into like a competition.
All right.
She was like, okay. She was like, well, what is it? I was like, it's a book called Smart Like Me about a African American male who was always getting bullied and picked on and everything, but he was smart. And then something happened to change his life. And then she said, "Oh, that was you when you was little." I said, "No, that wasn't."
But let me tell you what's interesting about your concept. Usually, you flip the script. I don't know if you realize that, maybe you did. Usually it might be the rich kid that might now find him or herself in the urban or the low economic setting that would come into that school and be smart and be bullied. But you did the
Okay.
reverse. You sent the kid from the poverty area to the rich area.
Yeah.
And the kid was smart and he got bullied. So that's a flip. That's a flip.
I didn't notice that. And all through the book, like in the middle, like after you read a certain amount of pages, because the book is in Spanish, English, and Spanish.
Oh, that's a must in today's, in 2015.
And in between the book, this was really that I loved about the book, is that I got all African American male and female
on the cover,
inventors. In the book, the things that they invented.
Oh,
like,
all right.
Penicillin,
yes,
and blood plasma.
Yes.
So kids can actually look in the book, and you're going to see like hundreds of names of things that that were invented.
Absolutely.
Like the perm and all this stuff.
Right.
Like, it's all in the book. Like that's why, like I was saying a few minutes ago, like it hurts me, like that the book didn't go farther than it went, because it's a great story. Like I said, the Passaic Community College, they put it in a magazine called the Panther.
Yes.
And it was a great stop bullying story. Since we deal with so much bullying nowadays, it's so widespread.
Yes.
And it's climbing, and the cyberbullying is getting out of hand, and the bullying, and I it's not because of my lack. Like I said, like I took the book to the mayor's office,
right.
And I took the book all over, like trying to do my part. But like we said before, you can't determine what people are going to gravitate to.
Well, I tell you what, since we've been talking, because usually when I'm on the air, I'm multitasking, if there is such a thing. There are those that say, no, there's no such thing as multitasking. But while I'm on the air, I'm usually also on all my social media sites. And I have put both the Williams story on as well as the Smart Like Me on all my sites. I've just sent it out to my Facebook, all my Twitter sites, my LinkedIn site, Instagram site. It's out there on all of them. I've been telling folks to tune into the show, but to also get the book. And like I said, I just saw the Kindle price, so most likely before the day is out, I'll have it. I mean, I think I had confused the paperback price with the Kindle price, so I think I got enough in my account to get the Kindle book.
And let me tell you one thing that happened. I had got last year in September of 2014. I had won a publishing deal from a publishing company in North Carolina, but I won now this is a true story. I won the publishing deal. I sent them excerpts from one of my street books.
Right.
So they was like, okay, we're gonna fund we're gonna fund your project. We're gonna pay for it. We're gonna promote it. So what I did, when they told me to send them the manuscript, I sent them the manuscript for Smart Like Me. And you know what happened? I signed the contract, and they never signed the contract. Wow. I guess they wanted to promote.
They wanted the street stuff, right?
Yeah, and I went through many channels to try to deal with that situation, because I signed the contract, but they never did.
That's sad.
They wanted this, but I didn't want a publishing deal.
You didn't want the street. So I hear you. So
I wanted a publishing deal for like Andre Williams or Smart Like Me or something like that. So when I sent them the manuscript, they just the texts and the emails and the phone calls, they just slowly disappeared. And that's all
I'm telling you, our priorities are off. First off, there's a book I was reading years ago that said all of our TV programming was going to become more and more demonic by design. And sure enough, if that hasn't come true, if you look at, because I don't have cable, so if you look at, and I'm sure cable is even worse, but if you look at the shows on regular TV, the channels we grew up with, 2, 4, 7, 5, and all that kind of stuff. 9, 11, 13, that's right. That's it. Most of those shows, a good number of those shows, have a demonic theme to it. And where I'm going with that is back to what folks gravitate to. We're being more and more socialized to gravitate toward the negative. And when someone does come at you with something positive, they don't think that'll sell.
No.
Which is sad, because really, Smart Like Me is what our kids need. And I'm looking here at the cover. I'm looking again. I'm going to give you the description. It says, Ryan Foster was a very smart but shy young man growing up. Other kids were always bullying him in one way or another. Then one day, something happened that would change his life forever. He would never allow bullying to get in the way of his dreams or anything else again. And the book is Smart Like Me. If you have a child, I encourage you to get the book to have, and do what Randy's mom did. Force them to read it. You don't have that option. You're going to read. This is 7 to 8 every night is going to be our reading time. You don't have that option. And so Smart Like Me, the Andre Williams, right?
Yeah, the Andre Williams.
I'm calling that right because I took that away. I took that out of my site, but I believe Andre Williams story. I encourage everyone to get those. And I'm impressed that you even remember coming to the event that we had that you brought your daughter to. And I thank you so much for acknowledging and referencing that. And Church Boy usually calls in about every week. I don't know if Church Boy, he's probably working. I don't know if he's listening or not, but he calls to say hello about every week. I got to thank him for putting you in touch with me to be on the show, because the books, and whenever a couple of minutes ago, and this is a true story as well, when you were saying, because I told you I was an adjunct, I was a professor down at Passaic County Community College. And you said how you walked in class late and how the professor started, right? That's how I wound up meeting my wife. Yeah, she was one of the students in my class, and she would come in late because she was picking up her kids or dropping off her kids or whatever. And I would always tease her about being late. Miss Howell, you're late again. You're making that grand entrance again. And so every time she was late, I would do the same thing your professor did, because that's the way we do. So when you said that, right? So when you said that, I cracked up when you said, because as the professors, that's what we do. Is you all walk in class late. We're gonna crack on you. But I have had a thrill speaking with you this morning, and I wish you nothing but the best. I'm going to be letting folks know about all the books for that matter, but particularly the two that you wanted to focus on, the Andre Williams story and Smart Like Me. And if I get a chance, because I know my budget this year is already shot in terms of school budget, but next year there's a couple of books that I'm looking at, and I can't make any promises, and I can't say it on the air, I can't, but I may wind up getting some copies for some kids in the building. Because,
okay. Yeah, well, a couple of schools did that. I think School 25.
Okay, good.
Good. They had bought some, and this was a specific teacher I knew.
Right.
And he bought some, and he made his class read it.
Right. Because see, that's how you get it out there. That's how we get it out there. That's how we get it out there, especially if it's a good product. Because I'm reading a book, and I just emailed him yesterday. And you're from the same era I am, so you remember in football. You remember Fran Tarkenton? Used to be the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings.
Yes. Yeah. He wrote a book called something about failure. It was something about failure. But in the book, because the premise of the book is don't be afraid of failure. Fail and get back up, keep trying again. In other words, it's almost like you should celebrate failure. That's kind of like the premise of the book. But in that, he says, anytime we go into business, we ought to be going into business to make life better for somebody else. Like, you're not necessarily and if you're doing that, you'll make money as a byproduct. But if you go into it from the standpoint of just making money, most likely you won't. And so his premises, and where I'm going with this is, Smart Like Me may not necessarily be for you to make $1 million. But if it gets into the hands of enough kids and you've now made life better for them, eventually the money will come.
Right.
And so how we get it out there is when you get into like educators like me and that teacher at 25, whatever, that say, you know what, I want our kids to read this book. I'm going to order X number of copies so each kid can have their own. Or I'm going to order a class set or whatever. And that way you've helped the kids in that class, but you've also helped yourself.
Right. Yes, indeed.
So I always give the author the last 5 minutes or last 2 or 3 minutes to promote. You can say anything but the price, but in terms of any book signings, where you're going to be, where they can get the book, how they can contact you, any shout outs, all that, and you better shout your mom out. Everything, anything you want to say, you can say that now, and then we'll get ready to close on out. But man, Jashon, it's a pleasure talking to you. Stop by my school sometime. I mean, that day I saw you at the store. The school's right across the bridge. I know you know where Napier Academy is. Most folks know it as School 4. We've been trying to change that name over because the actual name of the school is the Dr. Frank Napier Jr. School of Technology. We just had a fire there last week. But
I heard.
Man, I'm just glad we didn't lose anybody. But stop by sometime. I mean, if you want to talk to the kids, if you want to bring the book over and read to a class or whatever, that's a way to do it too. So you have the invitation to come on by. Just, give me a ring or stop down at the security desk. Let them know we're here.
Thank you very much.
All right, so these are your last minutes to close out, shout out, let folks know where you are, how they can get the book, so forth and so on. The mic's yours.
Okay, well, like you said, I want to give a shout out to my mother, for always having me read something and instilling positive things into me, that help me down the road. Like I said, it's a real inspiration when you have one parent or even two parents in the household. All my books, they can be reached. You can get them on Amazon.com. On my Facebook page is Randy Jashon Jackson. I always got updates on there or what's going on in book signings. I have a Twitter page, Randy.L.Jackson. I always have updates on there. One thing that we didn't speak about, I also I wrote a screenplay, which is like a web series movie.
All right.
It's called The Bottom. It actually premiered in the Fabian 8 movie theater in Paterson in March. It was sold out for 2 nights. And it's like a web series. You can follow that.
All right.
It's for 18 years old and up. Though.
Right.
It's definitely, you have to monitor the viewing. It's kind of explicit. So, go out and get smart like me. It's a great stop bullying story for children and middle-aged teens. And the Andre Williams story, if you get that book on Amazon, I promise you, it won't let you down. It'll give you a different perspective on life. It'll make you look at just waking up every day. It'll make you look at life different.
I know that's right.
Look at one day in Andre Williams' life. It's a real motivation, inspirational story. And like I said, just follow me on Randy Jashon Jackson on Facebook for updates. And parents or children or adults, if you're listening to this, read. Read. That's what I did, and that's how I got here. And that's it.
If you all didn't hear anything else over this last hour, those last couple words that Randy said, take that to heart. Parents, students, read.
Read.
We can't emphasize that enough. They have all these cute little sayings that readers are leaders and leaders are readers and all that. It's true. And like I said, before the day is out, because I was looking, whenever I made my commentary earlier about waiting till next week when my paycheck comes in to get I was looking at the paperback prices, but the Kindle prices, I think, like I said, I have enough in my account to cover that. So when I go home, I'll be downloading the Andre Williams story and Smart Like Me for a variety of reasons. One, your brother. Secondly, you're Pattersonian. Third, the books are relevant. And it gives Smart Like Me, it gives me a chance to preview it and read it over. And you never know, next year, whenever I get some budget money, I may wind up ordering some copies for the kids in the building. And like I said, stop by the building and we can read. Actually, we want to take a second or third grade class. You want to, because the kids love to be read to. Now, they may not like to read, but they love to be read too. So maybe we can do something around that. But man, I've had a blast.
Thank you very much once again for having me on the show, and not overlooking me, for my past or, things. I know you said you have everybody on your show. That's a blessing. That's going to take you far, because everybody got a past. You got to know where you've been and know where you're going.
Please. It's the past is what makes us, and like I said, you're going to have me talking for a long time. I hate those folks that try to pretend like they ain't never done nothing. Everybody has done something, regardless of how big or how small. Everybody has a past. There is no such thing as the perfect person. That person has not been other than Jesus Christ. Other than that, there has been no perfection. So for anybody to try to put on airs or try to pretend like they ain't never done that, they're lying. Just the fact that they're pretending that they've done something, because they're lying.
Yeah. You're right.
So, no, that don't faze me in the least. Matter of fact, probably that's made you stronger and better and wiser in order to tell the story.
It has.
So, all right, with that being said, man, have a wonderfully blessed day. I'm sure we'll see each other either at the school or in the store or either through Church Boy or whatever. But again, before the day is out, I will have the Andre Williams story on my Kindle as well as Smart Like Me.
Thank you, and thank everybody who tuned in and listened. Tell somebody tell a friend to tell a friend.
I know that's right.
Like Miss Jackson said.
All right, Miss Jackson.
Sorry,
Take care
Miss
now.
Jackson.
All right.
All right. See you later.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.